Hi guys, welcome to another video, and this is GCSE Maths Week 1 Negative Numbers, Rounding and BIDMAS. So if you're not familiar with any of my videos, you can download these notes from the link in the description below, or if you're part of my class, you can download these from Google Classroom. As always, if you do find my videos useful, do press the like button and do subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell button as well so they get the notifications. And if you have any suggestions for any future videos that you want me to make, do make some suggestions in the comments below. So this is week 1, and every week I will be doing 2 topics for GCSE. If you're teaching GCSE maths, this is not like in schools where we do it over 3-4 years. We teach this in just 1 year, so it's a 1-year scheme of work. If you're doing the same as me, feel free to use my notes as well. You can download them, use them in your lessons as well. Right, so hopefully by the end of this lesson, we're going to be applying the 4 rules for multiplying, dividing negative numbers. Use the number line for adding, subtracting negative numbers. Round numbers using decimal places or significant figures. And applying BIDMAS to solve long calculations. Right, so let's make a start on the rules for multiplying or dividing negative numbers. Right, so these rules only apply when you're multiplying and dividing, not when you're adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting is different. You have to use the number line for that. When you're multiplying and dividing numbers, especially negative numbers, you have to use these rules. So when you're multiplying or dividing a positive with a positive, you get a positive answer. Yeah, positive with a negative, you get a negative answer. Negative with a positive, you get a negative answer. Negative with a negative, you get a positive answer. Okay, so here's some examples. So obviously these are more simplified examples, so just to give you an idea. So obviously 2 times 2, positive 2 times positive 2 gives you positive 4. Yeah, and we don't put the positive. We know it's positive if it's just 4 on its own. Okay. Similarly, 2 divided by 2, they're both positive, so your answer is going to be 1, and it's going to be a positive 1 as well. Okay. 2 times minus 2, so you've got positive times a negative. You're going to get a negative answer, and 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. 2 divided by minus 2, again, positive with a negative, you can get a negative answer. How many 2's go to 2? Just once. Next one, similar sort of thing. Minus 2 times by 2, so you've got negative times a positive, you're going to get a negative answer. 2 times 2 is 4. Similar sort of thing. Minus 2 divided by 2, negative with a positive, you've got a negative answer, and that's 1. And finally, minus 2 times minus 2. So negative with a negative gives you a positive answer. 2 times 2 is 4. And minus 2 divided by minus 2 is positive 1. Okay. Let's try a few more examples and I'll get you guys to practice in a minute. So work out minus 4 times positive 9. So negative with a positive, definitely got a negative answer. Yep. And 4 times 9 is 36. Yeah. So pause the video, have a go over the next ones yourself, and when you're ready, unpause it. Let's go through these answers then, guys. So practice question 1a, 16 divided by minus 2. Okay, so positive with a negative, I'm going to get negative answer definitely. How many 2's go to 16? That's 8. Next one. Minus 20 times 2.5, so minus with the minus is going to give me a plus, definitely. And let's do it in stages. This is without the calculator, by the way, so let's times it by 2 first. I'm going to get 40. And what's half of 20? Half of 20 is 10, so if you add those two together, you'll get 40 plus 10, which is 50. Yeah, and it's going to be a positive answer for that one. Part C, I'm going to have a negative answer, and 30 divided by 60. Just be careful with this one. Don't be tempted to put 2 as your answer or minus 2. It's not going to be that. If it was the other way around, then yes, it would be minus 2, but technically you're doing, in fact, let me do like this. That's the same as that, yeah, and that simplifies to minus a half. Again, you can write it like this, or as a decimal, you can write it like that. Yeah. Part D. Yeah, again, minus with a minus, that's going to give me a plus. And how many 15s go into 45? That's exactly 3. E, that's going to give me minus, how many 20s go into that is exactly 6. Part F, okay, let's do the top bit first. So let's do this in stages. So I'll have minus 120 at the top over minus 360, and that simplifies to definitely a positive, because minus with the minus gives me a plus. Let's cancel this down, so that goes with that, and 12 goes into that once, 12 goes into that 3 times. So you should have a third. Just leave it like that. You can leave it as a fraction, that's absolutely fine. Part G, again, let's do it in stages. So I've got minus 40 at the top divided by, this bit here in the brackets gives me minus 10. I'm going to put it like this. Okay, and what have I got for my denominator? I've got 20 divided by minus 2, so that's going to give me minus 10 at the bottom. Okay, and now let's do the top bit again. That's going to give me positive 4 over minus 10. And that simplifies to minus 2 over 5. Yep, that's my final answer. Yeah, just leave it like that. You don't have to change to a decimal. That's absolutely fine. Part H. Again, let's do it in stages. I'm going to do, let's do that bit first. So minus 2 times minus 4 is positive 8. Still got this. Let's do the bit at the bottom. So that's going to give me minus 16. Okay, and let's do the top bit again. 8 divided by minus 2, that's giving me minus 4 over minus 16. That simplifies to positive 1 over 4, or a quarter. Yeah, again, you can leave it like that. You know, you're not going to get questions like these in the exam, for especially for higher. You know, but it's you know, it's good practice. Especially if you guys are doing foundation as well. So if anyone's doing foundation level, this is a really good practice with negative numbers. And BIDMAS a little bit as well. You know, is using BIDMAS, which one to do first, which I'm going to come to in a minute. Maybe I should have shown that first, but I am going to show BIDMAS later on in these notes. Let's move on to adding and subtracting negative numbers. So like I said before, the previous rules only work for the central signs. For example, if they're together like this in the middle, then you can use those rules we just mentioned, where, you know, if it's a positive or negative, in this case, like for example, that's going to change to a minus instead. Okay, so it's just these that are going to change. These ones in the middle, not these ones on the end. So that, can you notice, like the minus 12 here? That's still going to be a minus 12 here, so that doesn't get affected. Okay, and the way to do these is you have to use the number line. If you're not sure, if you can, you know, ideally you should be doing it in your head, but if you can't do it in your head, you know, just draw the number line. It just takes 2 seconds. So for example, work out minus 3 plus 7. So again, I'm going to do I usually do it in my head, but you know, if for the purposes of showing you guys, let's say that's our number line, bit of a wonky line, but you're on -3, you're here. Okay, so you're going to do +7, so you're going to add 7. So adding makes it go this way, yeah, when you're adding. So it's getting warmer. If it was getting colder, if it were -7, obviously it would go the other way. So I'm going to do 7 jumps this way. So 1, 2, 3, that's at 0 already, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, and that's at +4, it should be for your answer. Yeah. So, or you could do big jumps. You could do from -3 to 0. That's going to be 3 jumps, and then you need to do 4 more this way, so you land on +4. So yeah, but ideally you should be doing this in your head. Again, it's really good practice. Let's do the second example. -3 plus -7. So again, these ones here in the middle. Let's update that. That's going to be positive with the negative, gives me a negative in the middle. So I've got -3 -7. Again, let's use the number line. So I'm on -3. That's here. Let's say, for example, I'm going to -7. So minusing 7 goes this way. 7 jumps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And where do I land? So that's -4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's going to be -10 for my answer. Just to practice those then, so do pause the video and have a go of these. You can use the number line if you wish, but ideally you should be doing them in your head. Don't be afraid to use the number line. It's absolutely fine. Sometimes I do it as well. It's absolutely fine. So yeah, just pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it. Well, let's go through these then. So 5, take away 9. So you're on 5, you're on +5, you're going to take away 9. Again, I can see it in my head. It's going to go past the 0. So it's definitely going to be below 0. I've taken away 5 already. I can see it in my head. I still need to take away another 4. So that's going to be -4. Definitely. Yeah. And again, if you're not sure, just to show you what I was just talking about, I'm here I'm on +5 here, and if you take away 5 first, you land on 0, and you need to take away another 4, and you land on -4. Yeah, just to illustrate what I was talking about. But you should be doing that in your head. Next one, -9, -5. Again, you're on -9. Again, I can see that in my head. You're going to -5. It's getting colder. You're going to end up on -14. Yeah. I'm not going to do the number line for that, but hopefully you should get the same. -14 plus 5, so it's getting warmer. You should have -9 for your answer. Part D. Let's change this first. So this is going to become a minus. So -14 -5, that gives me -19. Again, it's getting colder. Think of temperature. Next one, let's update this bit here. Minus and a minus is going to give me a plus, so it'll be -9 plus 5. So I'm on -9. I'm going to add 5, so it's getting warmer. I end up on -4 for my answer. Yeah, or you could do it the other way around. You could have said +5, take away 9. You still get the same answer. And the last one, again, minus and a minus here is going to give me a plus, so technically it's 6 plus 8, which we all know as 14. Yeah, +14. So again, you're not going to get these in the exam. It's just, again, it's just good practice. with your negative numbers, and do practice these, because they do confuse a lot of people, and they'll come in handy when we do algebra later on. This definitely comes in very, very handy, especially these rules. Let's move on to powers and roots. So I need to show you guys what these are. You might have seen square numbers before, cube numbers. So squares and cubes, make sure you know these squares and cubes by heart. They could come up on the non-calculate paper. And if you don't know them by heart, you can work them out as well. Like, what's 14 squared? Well, it's the same as 14 times by 14. If you work that out, you'll get your answer. If you know your squares and cubes, you will know your square roots and cube roots as well. Yeah, that's true. I don't memorize my squares or cubes. I know a few of them, but I don't know all of them, obviously. But if you go up in your squares, like these, and work these out, you'll know your square roots, going the opposite way, and again, that'll come in handy for the non-calculate paper. Similar thing for the cubes as well. If you know your cubes, you'll know your cube roots, going the opposite way. So what are these then? So 1 squared literally means 1 times 1, which is 1. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. 4 squared, 16. 5 squared, 25. 6 squared, 36. 7 squared, 49. 8 squared, 64. 9 squared, 81. 10 squared, 100. 11 squared, 121. 12 squared is 144. 13 squared, some of you might know, hopefully, it's 169. 14 squared, if you're not sure, is 196. And 15 squared is 225. Yeah, and like I said, going the opposite way, so the square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 64 is 8, and so on. So if you know your squares, you'll know your square roots. You don't need to know any more up to you only need to know up to 15 squared. You don't need to know any more than that. Yeah, but obviously it does go on forever. Let's do our cubes. So these are the most important cube numbers that we deal with. And again, let's work these out. So 1 cubed is 1. 2 cubed, so that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 3 cubed, 3 times 3, that's 9. Times 3 again is 27. 4 cubed is 64. 5 cubed, 125. And 10 cubed is 1000. 10 times 10 times 10. Yeah. And again, if you know your cubes, you'll know your cube roots. Yeah. Going the opposite way. So let's practice a few of these. Again, these are foundation style questions. We'll do an example, and I'll get you guys to practice in a minute. So from the list of numbers above here, write down the square number. Well, the square number is 4, definitely. Yep, that's 2 squared. Any others? I can't see any others. No, that's it. The cube number is this one right here, number 8. Yep, as you can see, my cubes, 8 is in there, definitely. So that's my cube number. And the square root of 9, well, we should know that. The square root of 9 is 3. Yep. Which is, it's in my list as well, obviously. And we should know that the square root of 9 is 3 already. So have a go at the next ones yourself. Pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause it. Let's go through the answers then. So from the list of numbers, write down the square number. Well, that's going to be 36. The cube number is 125. The cube root of 8, well, that's just 2, isn't it? You don't even need to know which ones are in the list to know that one. Next one. From the list of numbers, write down all the square numbers. Okay, so we've got more than one answer. So 16, definitely. 64, and 121, and that's it. All the cube numbers, well, 64 is a cube as well, don't forget. 64 is 4 cubed, 4 times 4 times 4. And any more, let's double check. I can't see any others. So that, yeah, that's all of them. All the prime numbers. Ooh, not showing you guys prime numbers yet, but I will do in the next video. So prime numbers, all prime means is it's a number that you can't divide it by anything other than itself and 1, obviously. So prime number is, so 17 is a prime. Nothing else goes into that apart from itself and 1. And 97, yeah, that's a prime number as well, isn't it? Can't divide 97 by anything apart from itself and 1. Yeah, nothing else goes into that. And that's it. All the other numbers you can divide by various things. Yeah, so there's your answer. Oh, these type of questions. So practice questions 3C. I'm a prime number. I'm an even number. What number am I? So you should know, hopefully, prime numbers. The only even prime number is 2. That's the only one. Yeah, all the rest of the prime numbers are odd. I'm a prime number. I'm an odd number. I'm less than 5. Well, let's go up in our primes and I'll show you. Well, it's 2, 3, 5, and so on. So it's got to be 3, isn't it? Yeah, 3 is the only one that's odd and less than 5 at the same time. And I am a prime number. The sum of my digits is 10. I'm greater than 20 but less than 50. What number am I? Okay, so again, let's just list. So I'm a prime number, sum of my digits. I'm greater than 20. So after 20, what's the first prime number? So you'll have 23. Then you'll have 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Then it's 31. Then it's 37. Then it's 41. And then we've got 43, 47. And that's it. Yeah. So the sum of my digits is 10. Well, the only one that's adds to 10 is this one. Yeah, if you add the 3 and the 7 together, that gives you 10. So it's got to be that one. Yeah. So 37 is my answer. Let's move on to BIDMAS. So some people call it BIDMAS, some people call it BIDMAS. It's the same thing, you know, it doesn't make a difference. I'm going to use BIDMAS, obviously. So what does BIDMAS stand for? So these letters do stand for something, and it tells you the order, how to work out long calculations. Yeah, and your calculator, your scientific calculator, that uses BIDMAS as well, so it does it in a certain order. So it's not necessarily in the order it's written. It uses BIDMAS, so it does all of these first in order. So I'll explain with a couple of examples. I'll explain in more detail. So B stands for brackets. I is indices, things like 2 squared or 3 to the power 4, or even things like square root 64, for example. Yep, so anything with indices or powers. D stands for division. M is multiplication. A is addition. S is subtraction. Okay, so this is the order you do things in. Yeah, so you do any brackets first, you do any indices, then you do division, multiplication, and the lowest priority, these you do last, adding and subtracting. They are very, very low priority. Yeah, so if you have a really long calculation, such as this, just as an example, you don't necessarily do the 6 minus 2 first. In fact, if you do that first, you're going to get the wrong answer. And if you do type this in your calculator in one go, it will use BIDMAS, and you should get the answer with the following. So let's do 2 times 2 first, because that's what you got to do first, because multiplication comes before subtraction. So we have to do the multiplication first. So 2 times 2 is 4. So technically I've got 6 minus 4 for my next line. And now there's just one thing left to do, which is 2. Yeah. So if you don't get 2 as your answer for this, you've gone wrong somewhere, and you've not used BIDMAS. Yeah. If you were to type this in your calculator, you should get 2 as well. Yeah, because it does the same. So just to practice these, again, these are not going to come up in the exam, but again, it's really good practice, as we've just seen in the previous examples. It comes up time and time again. You do have to use BIDMAS pretty much everywhere where you've got big calculation. Later on when we do the quadratic formula, that uses BIDMAS as well. So when we do algebra, more complicated stuff, does come very, very handy. So pause the video, have a go over the next ones yourself, and when you're ready, unpause it. Let's go through the answers then. So practice question 4a, I'll have to do the division first. So that's technically 7 plus 1, which gives me 8 for my answer. Part B, I have to do the multiplication first. So that's 20 minus 15, which gives me 5 for my answer. Part C, I'll have to do the brackets first, but inside the brackets I've got 5 squared as well. So 5 squared is 25. Still got that. Let's do that inside the brackets now. So 25 take away 4 is 21, so it's technically 2 times 21, which gives me 42 for my answer. Part D, again, let's do the brackets first. 4 squared is 16. Let's do it in stages. Okay, again, 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I've got 8 take away 8, which is 0. 0 minus 1 is, should end up with minus 1 for that one. Yes, just be careful, should have minus 1, because 8 take away 8 is nothing, and nothing minus 1 is just minus 1. Part E, I've got 2 brackets here, so I could do these in any order. So let's just do the first brackets. That's going to give me 3 plus square root of 25 is 5. Second brackets, I've got 3 times 2 squared is 4. Again, let's just do these brackets in any order. Let's do the first one. Okay, that gives me 8. That gives me 12. My final answer, 8 take away 12, is minus 4. Part F. Oh, I've got a couple of indices in here, so let's do 5 squared, which is 25, minus square root of 121 is 11. Now I've got multiplication here. 25 times 2 is 50, so it's 3 plus 50 minus 11. 3 plus 50 is 53. Take away 11 is 42. Okay, part G. Again, ooh, got a big fraction here, but let's just separate. Let's just do the top bit first. In the top bit, I've got these this funny bit in the brackets. So I've got minus 6 divided by, open brackets, minus 2 squared. So that's minus 2 times minus 2, which is, using your negative rules. So negative times a negative gives me a positive answer. So I've got 4 there times by 5 over, oh, let's do the bottom bit as well separately. 20 divided by minus 2, so that's going to give me minus 10 for the bottom. Let's do this bit here, so I've got minus 6 divided by 20 over minus 10. Minus 6 divided by 20 is minus 3/10. How am I going to write this? Okay, I'll tell you what, let's write it like this. Minus 3 over 10 over or divided by minus 10. Okay, let's do it like this. Let's do it as 2 fractions. And, you know, because it's non-calculator. I'm going to show you guys the fraction rules later on. So, basically what I do is I keep the first fraction the same. I flip the second one. So that's going to be 1 over 10. And don't forget the minus. And you're going to be multiplying. So that's going to give me minus 3 times minus 1. Technically that minus could be, it's floating in midair really. You know, whether it's with the 1 or with the 10 makes no difference. I'll tell you what, let me just put that minus with one of these. I'll put it with that. Yeah, just so it doesn't confuse everyone. So I'm doing minus 3 times minus 1, which is positive 3. Yep, 10 times 10 is 100. Yeah, so I still get a positive answer anyway, 3 over 100. Or if you did it as a decimal, obviously it's 0.03, but let's just leave it as a fraction. That's absolutely fine. And the last one, part H. Again, square root of 64 is 8 divided by, minus 2 cubed. So that's minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. Let me put that on the side. That is, yep. So minus 2 times minus 2 is positive 4 times another minus 2 is minus 8. Yep. Over square root of 144 is 12. And I've still got that. Okay. So again, let's just do the top bit. 8 divided by minus 8, well that's minus 1. 12 divided by minus 3, that's going to be minus 4. And again, these minuses cancel each other out. Or you're going to get a positive answer anyway. You should have a quarter for your answer, or 1 over 4. Yeah, so that was good practice. You know, again, like I said before, you're not going to get these in the exam, but you know, it's good practice, especially with negative numbers, especially with BIDMAS obviously as well. So yeah, let's move on to rounding. First, I'm going to show you how to round using decimal numbers, or decimal places, sorry, and how to round to significant figures as well, which they do like to put in GCSE, especially for the higher one, you know. So numbers can be rounded to 1, 2, or 3 more decimal places. We count the number of figures from the decimal point. Numbers can be rounded to 1, 2, or 3 or more significant figures. We count the number of figures from the first non-zero digit. I'll explain what this means in a minute. Let's do decimal places first. So they're saying write this number correct to 3 decimal places. So what I like to do, let me just rewrite the number they're talking about. Okay, so for decimal places, we start from obviously the decimal point, okay, and 3 decimal places after that. So that's 1, 2, 3. I like to do like a cut-off line or a dotted line, whatever you like to call it. Straight after the cut-off line, this number here, or this digit, is going to decide what happens to the one previous. Okay, so if this key digit here is more than 5, then this goes up. If this digit is less than 5, then this stays the same. Yeah, so these are the rules for rounding. So in this case, because this is a 6, the 7 is going to go up by 1 digit, so that's going to go up to an 8. That stays the same, that stays the same. Decimal point is obviously in the same position, and you've got a 0 there, so that's going to be 0.048. Yeah, and I know a lot of people do like to do these in their head. I wouldn't recommend it. You know, even me, I always do it like this. I always draw the dotted line, which one's my key digit, and so on. And it guarantees that I get my answer every single time. Okay, so hopefully you guys will do the same. Oh, let's try significant figures. So it's slightly different. You know, I'm going to write the number again. This time for significant figures, you start from this side. Okay, so the first number that's not a 0, that's your significant figure. So in this case, you ignore that. This 4 is my first. So let me just do that again. That's my first significant figure. This must be my second, and this must be my third, and so on. Okay, so after my third one, because it's asking for 3 significant figures, that's when I do my dotted line. That's my key digit. That's going to decide what happens to the one previous to that. So because this is a 1 and it's less than 5, this stays the same, this stays the same, stays the same, that stays the same, that stays the same. So my answer is 0.0476. Okay, let's try one more. Oh, this one's a slightly more trickier one. So I've got a really big number, 104,951.0476. To 3 significant figures again. So again, I'm going to start from this side. So there's my first significant figure straight away. Okay, and now even if it's a 0, we still count that. So that's my second, that's my third, and so on. So there's my dotted line. That's going to decide what happens. So the 9, because that's a 9, that's going to make the 4 go up. That stays the same, and that stays the same. But I don't stop there. You know, I can't stop it as 105 as my answer, because that's nowhere near the original number, which was technically 104,951 point something. So I'll have to fill in the zeros up to the decimal point there. Yep, and now this is your final answer. So 105,000. That's the 3 significant figures. Okay, so yeah, if you stick to these rules, they do work. You know, if maths is all about rules and just following them, there's a lot of rules to remember. But yeah, if you stick to these rules, you know, you can't go wrong. So have a go of the next ones yourself. Pause the video. When you're ready, unpause it. Okay, let's go for the answers. So practice question 5a, write this to 2 decimal places. Okay, so let me just rewrite my number. 2 decimal places, so that's going to be 2 digits after the decimal point. There's my dotted line. There's my key digit. That's going to make that go up. That's it, stays the same. That stays the same, that stays the same. So it's 18.17. Next one. Write this to 2 significant figures. Again, let me just rewrite my number. 2 significant figures, so ignore the 0. That's my first, that's my second. There's my dotted line. That's going to decide, and that's going to stay the same, stay the same. stay the same, stay the same. So it's 0.47. Oh, next one. Let me just write my number. One significant figure, so I need my first significant figure, which is technically the 3. There's my dotted line. That's going to decide, because this is a 7, because it's more than 5, this goes up to a 4, but again I can't leave it like that. I have to fill in the blanks up to the decimal point, so I just have one more 0. So it should be 40 for your answer. If you put 4 as your answer, it's not going to be right, because obviously 4 is nowhere near the original number, so you have to have that 0 there. Definitely 40. Next one, let me rewrite the number. 2 decimal places, and that's there. Oops, where's my 1 gone? Oh, yeah, so because this is a 9, that's going to make it go up to a 10, but I can't fit 10 there, so I'll move 1 to the next one. So that goes up to a 2, and that's going to be a 0. So you just carry it on to the next one, just carry the 1 to the next digit. There's my decimal point. That stays the same. That stays the same. So technically my answer here is 18.20. You have to have that 0, otherwise your answer would not be to 2 decimal places. Yes, don't make that mistake of thinking, oh, it's just 18.2. No, it won't be. I mean, it will have the same value, but you wouldn't be answering the question. Look, they're asking for 2 decimal places, which is what we've got here. Yeah, so you have to have that 0 there. Next one. Write it to the nearest 1,000. Ooh. Right, so this is very similar to functional skills, when you round it to the nearest whole number or to the nearest 10. In this case, to the nearest 1,000. Well, that's my 1,000 column right there. Yeah, because that's your units, tens, hundreds, thousands. There's my dotted line in this case. And that's going to decide, that's my key digit. So in this case, that's a 1. Fill in the blanks. You should have 1,000 for your answer. Next one. Write this to 3 decimal places. Okay. So 3 decimal places, so 3 digits after the decimal point. There's my dotted line. That's my key digit. That's going to go up, but again, I'm going to have to carry the 1 to the next one, and that stays the same, that stays the same. And again, you're going to have to put the 0 on the end as well, so that your answer is to 3 decimal places. 5G. Let me rewrite the number to 2 significant figures. Okay, so there's my first, there's my second, there's my dotted line, that's my key digit. That's going to stay the same, stay the same, stay the same. Yeah, so it's 0.047. Next one, to the nearest 100. Okay, let me just rewrite my number. That's my units, that's my tens, that's my hundreds there. So there's my dotted line. That's my key digit. That's going to stay the same, stay the same. Fill in the blanks. Very similar to significant figures, isn't it? So, yeah, just be careful. You know, if you put 75 as your answer, it's nowhere near the original. And the last one, again, I'm going to rewrite the number to 1 significant figure. Well, that's the first one. There's my dotted line. That's going to decide. That's going to make it go up by 1. Fill in the blanks. See what I mean? Very similar to the previous one, where you go up to the decimal point and you should have 70,000 for your answer. Okay, in the next section, do pause the video and try these yourself. These are a mixture of questions to do with odd numbers, even numbers, prime numbers, and things like that. So you get very few of these in the higher papers, but they do come up. And look, they're only 1 mark each, so it's still worth doing. Obviously, could be the difference between one grade and the next. So do have a go of these, and when you're ready, just unpause it, and we'll go for the answers. So extension question 1, A is a prime number, B is an even number. So we've got n equal to a squared plus ab. Circle the correct statement about n. So you've got 4 different options. So this is a typical AQA higher question, to be honest, and you've got multiple choice, so it's only 1 mark. So me personally, I would use a couple of examples just to get a few, just to give me an idea of whether it's going to be odd or even, or if it's going to be always going to be prime or whatever. So don't spend ages on something like this, but just to give you an idea. So a is a prime number, so that means it could be, so a is 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, and so on. Okay, and b is an even number, and that could be, for example, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc. Okay, so when you do a squared is going to be, let's write at the top, in fact. So a squared is, so the square of that is 4, that's going to be 9, that's going to be 25, that's going to be 49, that's going to be 121, and so on. Yeah, so you'll notice that a squared is either even or odd. There's only 1 even number, the rest look like they're odd. And a times by b, so a times by b could be something like 2 times 2, which is 4. We could have 3 times 4, which is 12, or you could have things like any examples of any even ones or any odd ones, sorry. Or you could have 5 times 4, which is 20, or 7 times 2, which is 14, 3 times 6, which is 18. So these are all even. Yes, these are all even. A squared could be odd, could be even. Okay, so when you add them together though, so when you add a squared with ab, what do you get? Well, you could do 9 add 12. That's going to give you, let me write this down. You could get 9 plus 12, which is 21. You could get 4 plus 4, which is 8. So there's 2 examples of where you've got an odd number and an even number. So it could be odd or even. Yep, definitely not prime, because 8 is not prime. So the only option I can see is could be even or could be odd. So definitely that one is your answer. But don't spend ages on something like this. If you just have an idea, if you're not sure, maybe if this is in the exam and you're not sure, do skip it and come back to it at the end, because you can spend ages on something like this and just trying to figure this out bit by bit. And just use a couple of examples just to prove that you could get an odd and an even. You just need one of each, really, don't you, just to prove it. So yeah, bit of a weird question. Next one, extension question 2. Circle the expression that has the greatest value when a is less than -1. Okay, well, if a is less than -1, so let's say that a is -2, for example. for example. Okay. So if a is minus 2, let's substitute in all of these. Well, that's minus 2. Half of that is minus 1. And that's going to be minus 2 squared, which is minus 2 times minus 2, which is a positive 4. And a cubed, that's going to give you minus times a minus is a plus, times another minus is a minus 8 for that one. So the largest one is a squared, isn't it? Definitely. If I had minus 3, what would that give me? That would be minus 1.5. Obviously that's minus 3. That is 9. And this would be minus 27. So yeah, definitely a squared. And again, don't spend ages on something like this, only 1 mark. So again, you only need, a few examples. Just call a anything, obviously it has to be less than minus 1. So a couple of examples and you'll realize the largest one is always going to be a squared in this case. Last question, I think it is. Yeah. Extension question 3. Which one of these is a square number and a cube number? Well, 100. That's I believe that's 10 squared. 1000. That is 10 cubed. 10,000. That is 100 squared. Yeah, 100 times 100. A million. That's 1,000 squared, and also, isn't that 100 cubed? 100 times 100 times 100. So that's the only one. Let me just double check. Yeah, definitely that one. Yeah, that's the only one that's a square number and a cube number. So you can test it out. That's going to be 1,000 times 1,000. Just count the number of zeros. Same for this as well. 100 times 100 times 100. You're going to get the same number of zeros, aren't you? So yeah, definitely that one for 1 mark. So yeah, do practice these. These are, some people don't like these type of questions, but they are going to come up, especially if you're doing foundation as well. You guys who are doing foundation level, these are all taken from AQA papers, by the way, these extension questions. Yeah. For Edexcel, you'll get slightly different ones. So if you're not used to AQA, these are the type of questions you're likely to get to do with negative numbers, square numbers, not much BIDMAS. The only BIDMAS we use is, like I said before, in things like algebra. So yeah, I hope you found that useful, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like this video, and yeah, and if you have any suggestions for any new ones, do send me a comment. If you want me to do anything differently, again, send me a comment and I'll have a look into that. But yeah, thank you very much, and I shall see you in the next one.